today by the one and only Roger Stone. Roger, welcome to the show, sir.
Great to be back with you, Harrison. That's a good-looking necktie you got there.
Oh, thank you very much. I was anxious about it. The crew was they were going, it's a great tie. And I was going, it's not Roger Stone level. I should have worn a better one, but I appreciate that compliment. And it's always on my mind. Now, I know you don't have too much time with us, so let's get right into it. A lot of frustration I'm experiencing is that we've got these crimes that go back like a decade. For example, Russiagate, that we haven't seen a lot of movement on, and I don't want to forget about it. I don't want this just to, fall to the wayside and we're the only ones talking about it. But it seems like there's some developments in that regard. Can you lay out to us what's happening with the Russia collusion hoax from a decade ago?
First of all, I think it's important to understand the Russian collusion hoax is the greatest single dirty trick in American politics. It's the greatest single abuse of power by the federal government. Is nothing less than the full use of the authority of the United States and the extraordinary capability of the intelligence agencies to try to remove a duly elected president, utilizing two pieces of evidence, the Steele dossier and the false claim that the Russians hacked the DNC, which they didn't, to remove Donald Trump. And at this point, we know, based on John Durham's report, that this is a plot that was hatched in the Oval Office. Barack Obama was there. He's probably protected by the Supreme Court ruling regarding presidential immunity, but Joe Biden was in on it. Susan Rice was in on it. John Brennan was the ringleader. James Comey, the FBI director, was in on it. Andrew McCabe was in on it, and so on. This is treason, in my opinion. There's no statute of limitations on the crime of treason. And then yesterday, we learned that the FBI hid a very substantial number of documents and data under a secret classification. And therefore, I think it's safe to assume that John Durham, whose report kind of proved everything I just said, but lacked a lot of colorful detail, probably never had these documents. We don't know if the Inspector General, if the Justice Department had these documents, but John Brennan, for example, in my opinion, I wrote a piece on this last week, he's guilty of treason. He should be tried for treason. He should be charged with treason. There is, and I just hung up with my lawyers. I'm contacting the FBI to see what among these documents may pertain to me and was not provided to my defense attorneys at trial, which they have an obligation under discovery to do. So the other problem you have, though, Harrison, is if you indicted any of those people I just named, including Hillary Clinton, Jake Sullivan, John Podesta, because they all committed crimes as well. If you indicted them in the District of Columbia, they would get acquitted.
Right.
No Democrat, no partisan case will be fairly decided there. You may remember that the special counsel John Durham did end up indicting a guy named Sussman, Michael Sussman. He was at the very, very bottom of the totem pole in the Russian collusion hoax. Indicting Michael Sussman is like indicting the guy who drove the getaway car for double parking and letting the bank robbers get away.
Right.
And even they couldn't even get a conviction against him. So you will get no justice in the District of Columbia. That is something federal prosecutors, if Kash Patel determines that there are crimes, and I think that's pretty clear, then the Justice Department would have to determine how and where to charge these people.
Oh, and it's just, you're exactly right. I mean, it's almost impossible to even describe the level of malfeasance that took place here, because it wasn't just the Russia collusion hoax, the dossier they knew was fake, and yet they used it to get the FISA court warrant, spying on, literal treason, and then the cover-up on top of that, which is a whole other host of crimes. Does this have to do with we played the clip, Dan Bongino saying we found a room that the FBI tried to hide with us. Was that part of this discovery?
That is the beginning of this story, that on day 2, they clarify it as there was a very specific place where the documents were hidden in their computer system where not everybody could see it. done quite purposely. Look, in my own case, my lawyers asked for Robert Mueller's final unredacted report, and the judge denied it to us. She said she would read the report in her chambers and give us the portions that were relevant to Roger Stone. She left out the part that we learned about on December 23rd, 2020, when a federal judge finally ruled that the DOJ had to release the whole thing, in which Robert Mueller admitted that he found no evidence of Russian collusion, WikiLeaks collaboration, or for that matter, any other crime against me. So, but of course, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, none of them have ever reported that. So why did they try to destroy me? There was no Russian collusion for me to lie about. And if the charge was lying under oath to Congress, well, there's a long line ahead of me. Dr. Anthony Fauci, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, John Brennan. The difference being they lied under oath about material matters. A misstatement that doesn't hide any underlying crime, a misstatement that has no motive, therefore an honest misstatement, is not a violation of the False Statements Act. So I think most people, if you watch InfoWars, you know, I was really charged, not because I did something wrong, but to pressure me into testifying against Donald Trump. Right. After spending $30 million to investigate the Russian connection and finding nothing whatsoever, they wanted me to be the ham in their ham sandwich, and I refused to do that, refused to lie. By the way, I'd already passed 2 polygraph tests pertaining to all of this. So it is an outrageous, dirty trick. It's a massive abuse of power. It makes Watergate look like small-time stuff. The only thing that comes close in terms of the size of the scandal, Harrison, is the cover-up of Joe Biden's cognitive condition.
Right, and I mean, these guys clearly don't seem to have very much fear of paying the price. I mean, you've got James Comey tweeting out an assassination threat, essentially, to Donald Trump. And the next day, you know, he's on TV going, that was nothing. And by the way, the FBI really needs to be concerned about how they're being politicized. Everything is a projection with them. They have politicized, persecution against yourself, Owen Schroyer, so many other people we know on our side. They're the ones who literally, I mean, the most egregious violation of the fundamentals of democracy ever with the Russia collusion hoax. Everything they do is projection, but they seem like they are above the law. I mean, they don't even seem concerned that they'll ever be brought to justice, despite the immense amounts of crimes we know they've committed. How do we get justice? What do we need to do to strike, the fear of justice into them? Because they seem completely untouchable at this point.
What you say is entirely true. I watched John Brennan. John Brennan, an admitted communist, admitted under oath that he was a member of the Communist Party, voted for the communist candidate for president. John Brennan, who approved the visa for 4 of the hijackers that were told attacked America on 9/11 when he was the bureau chief in RITA. John Brennan, who got caught red-handed spying on a Senate committee that was investigating his illegal use of torture. John Brennan, who sources say, credible sources say, actually converted to radical Wahhabism when he was the station chief in RITA. John Brennan, who sent a list of 26 individuals who were friends or associates of Donald Trump, including myself, to British, Canadian, New Zealand, and Australia intelligence, asking them to spy on us, to bump us, as they say, so that he would have deniable plausibility. I mean, how long? This guy goes on MSNBC and he says, I'm appalled. I'm appalled that Tulsi Gabbard is firing members of the national security staff who are not loyal to Donald Trump or his vision and who are leaking like a sieve. I'm appalled that John Brennan's not in prison, to be honest with you.
Right. I am too. Comey's another one. I mean, he was a ringleader here. Do we need to go back to Lisa Page and Peter Strzok? I mean, they're admitted in their own text messages what they were involved in. And this I think is like the overwhelming frustration. It's like we have them all. We have them all in their own words admitting what they did. So like, what more do we need? I keep getting this frustration. I keep saying, it's like we have a true crime podcast where we keep reporting on the same serial killer. He keeps going out and killing. We have all the evidence, and they just won't arrest him. And we just have to sit here and keep reporting on his crimes. What is it going to take? How many more investigations do they need to do? Is it purely political, the barriers, the obstacles to getting justice in any one of these cases?
I wish that I could answer your question, but I don't know the answer. One of the barriers clearly is, and I think this is a shrewd calculation, if you charge any of those people in D.C., they'll get acquitted. Right. The facts, the Constitution, the evidence, the record, the rules, none of these things matter in D.C., none of them. In fact, you won't even, in my case, I was never even allowed to mount a defense. All defenses that I anticipated the judge would disallow. So there may be a calculation that it would be more politically damaging to try these people and have them be acquitted because of the rigged nature of the trial in D.C. But even when they do get caught, take this FBI direct agent Charles McGonigal. He was central to the Russian collusion hoax. He was one of the main perpetrators. He got caught taking bribes from a Russian oligarch. And they charged him for that narrow crime. But if you look at it, he should have been tried for espionage because his crimes are far broader than just taking bribes from that one guy. So in the end, he gets what amounts to a slap on the wrist. Look, I have a lot of confidence in Kash Patel. I know him very well. I do think these things take time. I recognize a lot of our people are impatient. I myself am impatient. But at the end of the day, the only act I see here where anybody's being held responsible is the fact that Bill Pulte at the Federal Housing Finance Agency has pointed out that Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, who prosecuted Donald Trump on a completely trumped up, nonsensical charge of inflating the value of his assets to get commercial loans that were paid back in full, and the lenders made $40 million in interest. That's the only place where I see any of these people being held responsible. No place else in the federal government is anyone else being held responsible.
Yeah, it's infuriating. And again, I am one of these people that's so impatient about this, and it gives me some level of reassurance that people like yourself are trust these guys and think they're working towards the right ends. But it's like, to me, this is sort of an existential case of America. I mean, do we have we aren't a democracy, but do we even have a republic? Do we even have the ability to decide who represents us or not? And if they're able to just sort of delay and push things back for Trump's administration, I mean, this seems like the last chance to me. This seems like the last chance we have to regain control of this deep state that has so flagrantly violated our fundamental values and laws. And I admit I'm very impatient. So, I mean, what do you think that Trump's going to be able to pull it off? Is he going to be able to get some of these people behind bars, or at least pull them from the power that they still obviously exert? Like James Comey, again, he seems just utterly confident in his ability to do whatever the hell he wants, and he's not going to pay the price for it. Is Trump going to be able to pull this off in this term?
I mean, first of all, the president's got quite a bit on his plate, and I think he's doing extraordinarily well at his most important focus, which is not having World War III. Sure. I would say that's a higher priority than recalibrating the scales of justice for those who pulled off the Russian collusion hoax. Not that that's not important, but the president is working very hard to avert a world war. Both in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, also in the Middle East. And his speech in Saudi Arabia was extraordinary. No more nation building. This was a slap in the face to the neocons. At the same time, he's got to rebuild our economy, particularly in time for the midterm elections, because I don't need to tell you this. If the Democrats retake the House, then you're going to see the same fake investigations, impeachment motions, and so on. We're right back where we started from. So the president's priorities, I think, are peace, prosperity, and security for the American people.
Absolutely.
Now, those who say, oh, well, you guys just want revenge. This is about retaliation. No, what we want is one single justice system, not a two-tier justice system where there are different rules for Roger Stone than there are for Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci, who I'm convinced is perhaps the greatest mass murderer in history,
Yep.
Anthony Fauci lied under oath in the U.S. Senate when asked about gain of function funding coming from the United States to the Wuhan lab. That is a fact. That is a serious material crime. Senator Rand Paul is absolutely correct. He should be prosecuted for that.
Absolutely. And of course, when it comes to World War III and Trump's ability to stop that, of course, it's all tied in, isn't it? I mean, there's a reason that they went with Russia collusion. I mean, they were trying to drive Trump away from Russia when he tried to look into what was happening in Ukraine. That was when the first impeachment came about. So, I mean, the situation we're in now is only possible because of what they pulled off during 2016 and driving him away from Russia. And I mean, clearly that was their intention, to start war with Russia, and did a lot of this in service of that. I know, again, we don't have too much longer with you, and I appreciate you coming on today. And, of course, I didn't even mention people can, of course, find your website, stonezone.com, and follow Roger Stone on X at Roger J. Stone Jr. The big, beautiful bill, can we talk about that for a second? Because there's a lot of division. Elon Musk called it abominable. Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, not for it. But a lot of other, MAGA supporters say this is the way we get the wall. This is the way we get the deportations. What's your breakdown of the big, beautiful bill as it stands now?
I'm a strong supporter of the big, beautiful bill. I don't think it's perfect. It really isn't structurally the right place to do spending reduction. The tax cuts are absolutely crucial. If the tax cuts are not renewed in January, then America will get a 68% increase in federal taxes, the largest single tax increase in American history. And tax cutting, tax reduction is one of the key elements of the president's plan. Also, of course, we do away with the tax on tips, the tax on Social Security. We have a tax credit for those who buy a vehicle, a car, or a truck made in the United States. There's a lot of important stuff in there, and therefore I'm for the big, beautiful bill. Now, it does not go far enough in terms of spending reduction. Elon Musk has done a brilliant idea of proving that this is not some abstract theory, but he identified it not millions, not billions, but trillions of waste, fraud, and corruption. These need to be done in rescission bills. They've said they're sending the first one up. It's $94.8 billion, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's about 5% of what Elon Musk identified. It would knock out the outrageous spending and expenditures by USAID, which has become just a slush fund for the deep state, for which they pay for all kinds of crazy things. Revolutions abroad, color revolutions in other countries, $130 million to the New York Times. Harrison, that's a lot of subscriptions, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, just a drop in the bucket to, the full scale and scope of the waste that we know goes on continually. And I guess, the biggest frustration to me, it's not even with Trump, it's not with Elon. Like, I get the pressure that they're under and the things they're having to deal with. It's the Congress. It's the congressmen. I mean, we gave them the House, we gave them the Senate, and they seem incapable of doing anything for the American people. What can we do as citizens to get them to realize the situation that we're in an existential fight for the fate of America, and they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs and bickering over God knows what, or it's Lindsey Graham in the Ukraine trying to start war with Russia. I mean, what do we have to do to get through to these people? Is it even possible?
You raised an excellent point. So here's something we don't know. If Lindsey Graham and Senator Richard Blumenthal, the hero of the Vietnam War, who lied about seeing combat there, if they urged Zelensky not to go to the table or not to negotiate for peace, well, then I would argue that they are guilty of violation of the Logan Act.
Yeah.
And no, there's no special immunity for U.S. senators. The Logan Act applies to every U.S. citizen. Now, notice I said if, because we don't know the substance of their conversations, but if they urged him not to negotiate peace, they'd be in violation of that law and they could be prosecuted. there's a perfect example. Our problem here lies in the fact that we have control of the House by 3 seats, and therefore any 3 members can bollocks the entire works by going to the speaker saying, "I won't vote for this unless I get that." So we really need to do 2 things. One, we have to make it clear to those rhino establishment Republicans who will not get behind the America First agenda that they are going to face primaries in 2026. Let's start with Tom Tillis, for example, the guy who torpedoed the nomination of Ed Martin, who would have been terrific as the U.S. Attorney for D.C. He should face a stiff, well-funded Republican primary, and the president, frankly, in my opinion, should put his political machine, his political muscle behind that challenge. If a senator gets away with betraying the president, then pretty soon every senator believes they can do that with impunity. But we have problems within our own party in the sense that in the House caucus, half the members are establishment Republicans who don't really want to do anything, Harrison. They just want to get reelected and go home. That's all they want. And then you have fire breathers like Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett and others who want to burn the place down correctly, want to reform the system radically. And if you're Mike Johnson, you've got to get a majority to do anything.
Yeah, and again, what doesn't make any sense to me is like even for their own political future, what are they doing? Like Tom Tillis or Lindsey Graham or any of these guys, it's like, how do they not see the shifting winds, the way that the American populace is feeling, even if they're just full of themselves and want power to themselves? They're doing everything they can to drive their voters away, and they're going to be removed from office if they don't get their act right. Now, I'm glad more and more people are making that threat, including Elon Musk, including Ken Paxton, including a lot of other people running against them. All I can say is that I feel like we've done enough. I feel like Roger Stone and Alex Jones, we've suffered enough and gone through the trials to get these people in power, and now we have to sit and watch them waste our time. It's incredibly frustrating. Roger Stone, as always, thank you so much for being with us. So glad you could carve us out of your very busy schedule. The website, stonezone.com. Follow Roger on X at Roger J. Stone Jr. Thank you for being here, Roger.
Great to be here, Harrison. God bless you.
God bless you. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere.